बहुत अच्छे से, कितने प्यार से, जैसे कि कोई सच में मतलब मुझे तो ये आप लोग जो है बिल्कुल इसको कमर्शियल की तरह लीजिए। हिंदुस्तान में जो है मुस्कुरा कर आप कोई भी काम कर सकते हैं। जो जो बातें आप नहीं कह पाएंगे आप मुस्कुरा कर कह सकते हैं, है ना। भले वो शादी ब्याह का मामला हो तो जो बीच में बैठे होते हैं मामा जी, जहां उनको लगता है कि अब वो नहीं बोल पाएंगे मुस्कुरा देते हैं कि भाई लड़का लड़की तो बात आपस में हो ही गई है, अब थोड़ा सा गिव एंड टेक देख ले तो बस आपको भी यही करना है। जहां आपको लगे कि बात समझ में आ गई है तालियां बजाएं, जहां आपको लगे कि बात कम समझ में आ गई मुस्कुरा दें। सुनने वाले का कॉन्फिडेंस बढ़ेगा, उसे पता भी चलेगा कि अब उसको और समझाना है। चलिए एक एक करके जो है बहुत ही बड़े महानुभव हमारे बीच में बैठे हुए हैं, इनका अनुभव ही गजब का है। I'll first of all call Dr. 𝗙𝗵𝗲, Chairman of 𝗂𝗚 𝗍 and Chief Sustainability Officer की सर आप आए और अपने विचार हमारे बीच में रखें। Please do come.
Very good morning. First of all, I'm absolutely thrilled to be in this panel on the inaugural session, and compliments to Amit, because I guess this is among the first awards and conference which is totally focused on communications in agriculture. So this is the first ever. There are many award functions and also conferences, but this is totally dedicated to agriculture. So let me begin with the famous saying of George Bernard Shaw, who said that communication is not just about transmitting information, but about creating shared understanding. So this is what we've been deliberating under the able guidance of Dr. Singh, who said that it's not just about communicating, it's all about what impact it has created and how we have moved the needle. So this is indeed very true in a diverse country like India, and there are more so in agriculture, which is so diverse, from the Indo-Gangetic plains to the Trans-Himalayan region. So as we all know, India has also got 15 agroclimatic zones, 146 million farmers with 146.8 million land holdings. So obviously over 86% have less than 2 hectares, diverse culture and agricultural practices. So our production has no doubt reached record levels because of the Green Revolution, but there are also some unintended consequences that we are grappling with. This is largely attributed to the breakdown of extension and, more importantly, communication regarding soil health and the environmental impacts and all that we hear now. Added to these is number one worldwide emergency, and that is climate change, and the ever-increasing pests and diseases that afflict crops. So why is communication and rural engagement so important for agriculture? So let me spend a little time on how these two aspects play. What are the significant things that is required when we communicate to the farming communities? First of all, what happens is a good communication actually is knowledge transfer. So effective communication facilitates the transfer of knowledge and information within the agricultural community. So all of us keep traveling, Rajveer, Raju, all of us, when we travel to different parts of the country, the farmers, sometimes there are gaps. Things like, when do you have to spray? What do you have to spray? What is the amount that you have to spray? In which manner that you have to spray? So these are some of the questions that are uppermost in the minds of the farmers. Sometimes whether it is to be sprayed pre-emergence or post-emergence. So these are the kind of common questions that, and it is natural because we bring in new technologies, we spend on R&D, we bring in newer and newer molecules to help the farmers face the various pests and diseases. So it's therefore important that we transfer the knowledge in a way that is understandable, in a way that's easy for the farmers to actually make use of it. Farmers need access to latest research findings, best practices and technological advancements to improve their yields, of course, reduce costs and mitigate risks. So timely dissemination is absolutely important about new agricultural techniques, crop varieties, pest management strategies and weather forecasts enables farmers to make informed decisions. So we're taking the how do we make agriculture more predictable? So this is primarily the crux of a good communication. So first is knowledge transfer. And what does it do to... The second aspect is all about market access. Communication channels connect farmers to markets, buyers and distributors, enabling them to sell their produce at fair prices and access lucrative markets. So all the time we hear that they don't get the proper prices, they are not, they feed the nation and they feed the world, but their economic status of our farmers is not very good. So how do we give that knowledge so that the farmers are able to get access to different markets and different trends? Through market information systems, farmers can learn about prevailing prices, demand trends and market opportunities, empowering them to negotiate better deals and diversify their income sources. The third important aspect of communication is all about public policy advocacy. Effective communication, in fact, allows farmers to advocate for policies that address their needs and concerns. So we've heard about, in the US, there is a Corn Growers Association, Rice Growers Association, which actually implement the policies that they want. Unfortunately, in India, we are still having many of the farmer organizations, but they are yet to kind of come to the table to help in formulating policies which are absolutely essential for their needs. So, the effective communication will allow farmers to advocate for policies that address their needs and concerns by sharing their experiences, challenges, and aspirations with policymakers. Farmers can influence agricultural policies and propagate to promote sustainable farming practices, which is a buzzword in today's world, quite rightly so, improve access to resources and address socio-economic disparities in rural areas. Fourth aspect of communication is extension services. Agricultural extension services rely on communication to deliver advisory services, training programs, and technical support to farmers. So extension workers use various communication tools, as we know, such as workshops, field demonstrations, mobile apps, and radio broadcasts to disseminate information, provide hands-on training, and foster innovation among farmers. So now I will look at the other aspect of rural engagement. Why is rural engagement crucial for agriculture? First and foremost is the community development. Rural engagement fosters community cohesion, solidarity, and resilience by bringing together farmers, cooperatives, agribusinesses, NGOs, and government agencies. So we are bringing together through this the entire scope of stakeholders who are influential, who make the policies going forward. Collaborative initiatives such as farmer cooperatives, then community gardens and agricultural cooperatives empower rural communities to collectively address common challenges, share resources, and build social capital. The other important aspect of rural engagement is the sustainable agriculture part, which I said that it is gaining ground. Rural engagement promotes sustainable agricultural practices that promote the environment, conserve natural resources, and enhance biodiversity. By fostering a dialogue and collaboration among stakeholders, rural engagement initiatives can promote conservation agriculture practices that improve soil health, water management, and ecosystem resilience. The third and most important aspect of rural engagement is youth involvement. So engaging rural youth in agriculture is crucial for the sector's long-term viability and vitality. By providing young people with education, training, and entrepreneurial opportunities in agriculture, rural engagement initiatives can stem rural-urban migration. So we all hear that no one wants to be in agriculture anymore and it is not lucrative. So we have to somehow engage the rural youth in telling them about the new developments, new technologies available, and you have to ease the drudgery of farming. So therefore, involving the youth is very, very important, and it also creates employment opportunities and revitalize the rural economies. The fourth aspect of rural engagement is innovation and technology adoption. Rural engagement facilitates the adoption of innovative technologies and digital solutions that enhances agricultural productivity, efficiency, and resilience. By promoting technology transfer, capacity building, and knowledge sharing, rural engagement increases the initiatives which can empower farmers to leverage digital tools. We are all talking about the Internet of Things, and we are talking about digitization, and we are talking about AI, which is agriculture, I would say, is at the cusp of great opportunities. And this is the time that we can, as I said, that over 86% are smallholders, and therefore to reach them, we have to use digital tools and digital communication. Unlock the full potential of agriculture to alleviate poverty, promote food security, and build resilient rural communities for future generations. Thank you once again, Amit, for giving me this opportunity, and thank you.
I'd like to call my next speaker, जो कि हमारे साथ बैठे हैं, हमारे mentor हैं, हमारे साथी, to talk about his experience and expertise. I would like to call Doctor तो साहब तो आगे चले गए. अब आएंगे श्री राजीव जी, आइएगा.
Good morning, everyone, and honorable expert on the dais. I may not be that as compared to Rakeshji, but I'll try to see that what else can be added. And thanks, Ravi, for comprehensively covering the entire landscape of agriculture, challenges, opportunities, and also what needs to be done. And I must say that he has made job for respective speakers to come very easy, because he has covered very comprehensively. But still, since I'm here, so probably I'll just try to cover a few things, like, why today's session is really important, and thanks, Amit, for taking that initiative to focus on that. And to begin with, if you look at what was traditional communication, if you go back to your school days, and it was what? I am responsible for what I said, not for what you understood. But in the changing time, if you look at the complexities, the kind of situation which has evolved where you need to communicate effectively. So what has become important today for everyone is that I'm not only responsible for what I said, but I'm also equally responsible for what you understood, just to make the communication very effective. Now, picking up on what Ravi left, what एक कहावत है अंग्रेजी में, what get you here won't get you there. कि जो चीजें हमें इस स्टेज पे लेके आई हैं, will that be sufficient in the changing time, the challenges, the various stakeholders? And within that, one common thing is that everyone wants to see from their own perspective. So how to make that common mindset together with picking up on the key principles of the communication part of it. So I've just collected few things, just to move forward, as I said, that where we are today and where we aspire to go over there is a couple of things I want to just highlight. One is, very important, is that how effectively we assess the local needs and current available infrastructure, and just to find that what gaps need to be addressed and how it need to be addressed. That's really important. The second part is that whatever the tools and innovative technologies which we have, how we can use it not in silos, but connecting each other to make sure that it's complementary to each other, just to ensure, just to reduce the time from what we are saying, from the source to the recipient, and how it flows seamlessly using various technologies, tools, including the digital, either it's extension services, using radio, digital media, posters, and whatever you call it. Other important thing is third, which is I think, which is very unique to this part of the world or in this country, is the mobile app applications. Like, if you look at the penetration of the smartphone, which is today, and I think how we use it more effectively for the communications and how we can drive back the interest of the people rather than surfing on the YouTube, probably how it can be used in a much more effective manner so that it is useful for the respective people or group of people, and especially in the agriculture side of it. Because farmer today gets a lot of information. And there is another thing today, I think most of everybody will agree that there is a saying that today the world is drowned in the ocean of information, but still they are starving for the knowledge, and that's a reality. How we remove that clutter, how we remove that the complexity, is to make sure that the right messages reach to the right person. The other thing is community network. I think Ravi has already covered. The other is that within that, how to make it more cost effective. I'm not saying low cost, because low cost has no meaning. It has to be cost effective, whatever you do it. What the concept we call it is what is an ROI. You invest 1 rupee and get nothing, or you invest 10 rupees and get 100 things. Which one you adopt it? And that's a harsh reality, that how we move from the traditional thing to the realistic thing, saying that, okay, if I'm doing this thing, whether it's cost is just not money, it's a resources, how much time you spend on devising those communication tools and delivery mechanism, how it can become more effective. The most important part is that it's not just because digital thing has a very short shelf life, right? I get a message, I read it, after 5 seconds or 10 seconds, it goes deep down. Most important thing is just to keep a sustainability and continuity of a thing to leverage from what's been done in the past and how these things can be used in the future, is that how we build up a digital literacy and skill development linked with that. Digital library, digital literacy kind of a thing, so that the information what you stored, what you keep it, is how it can be effectively used later on. Last, I'll stop with that. Most important is public-private partnership, because no single player, no single institution, no single digital app is going to happen. So there is a need that how we come together and then form a kind of a public-private partnership with the focused approach to ensure that the right level of information, timely, and through effective communication means it's reached to the recipient, be it not just farmer, but the other stakeholders within that. Majority of the farmers, they go to the dealer distributors. It's also important that from the source to the recipient, so whatever the other important stakeholders, they also have the same level of understanding and information to make that communication effective. So thank you so much for listening very patiently. Thank you so much.
अगले स्पीकर को सीधे बुलाना चाहूँगा मैं, श्री राजकुमार गुप्ता जी, मैनेजिंग डायरेक्टर ऑफ 𝗙𝗏 ग्रुप से। बिल्कुल सर, आइएगा।
और इन्होंने एग्रीकल्चर के बारे में तो सब लोग बता ही रहे हैं, मैं थोड़ा अमित जी के बारे में बता दूँ कि इन्होंने हमें एजेंसी के थ्रू, अपनी एजेंसी के थ्रू अरुण गोविल जी को हमारा ब्रांड एम्बेसडर बनवाया, और इसका मेन पर्पस यही था कि उनकी पॉपुलैरिटी और फार्मर से वो लोग जुड़ना भी चाहते थे और हम भी जुड़ना चाहते थे। और मैं सभी लोगों का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद करता हूँ, और अमित जी का स्पेशली धन्यवाद करता हूँ।
हमारे बीच में बैठे हैं, बड़ी सम्मान की बात है कि हम उनको सुनेंगे। प्रोफेसर आर.वी. सिंह सर, आप आइए और इस महफिल को बताइए अपनी एक्सपर्टीज के बारे में सर, और इस सेशन के बारे में। थैंक यू सो मच। वेरी ह्यूज ऑनर।
Dear colleagues on the dais, on my left and right, I always keep my people who are close to my heart on my left, and the right people always on my right, not my right. So I think it's a great opportunity. The distinguished participants, you are the inspiration, as a matter of fact, who are present here. A very good morning to each one of you for being, of course, so kind and delightful to represent this meeting. Let me thank Amit for the snail integral, which I think is a very unique topical initiative, and we would wish you the best so that these things keep. Oh, I'm sorry. I hope I was not audible earlier, so this is okay. I feel very honored to participate in this because this will be building, hopefully, a roadmap for the rural communication, and rural is so very important for India. But we also to add that when we talk of communication, along with communication, we must put the word for development. Communication for development. This is absolutely essential. Having said so, let us see that the communication for development, as when we are talking about, our focus today will be on the rural and agrarian development, which could be defined in my thinking as I have tried to put forth here. Communication for development, which we call 𝗂𝗵𝗲𝗹, it is a social process, very important to underline. It's a social process based on dialogue using a broad range of tools and methods. I was so happy Raviji was able to mention in detail quite a few things. 𝗂𝗵𝗲𝗹 is about seeking change, development for change at different levels, including from the listening to establishing trust among those who are communicating with each other, trust between the corporate and the public sector, the sharing knowledge and skills, building policies, debating and learning for sustained and meaningful change. Development ought to be seen as a change which is constructive and good for the humanity as a whole, and that change must be brought based on science and reality, because science is the one which seeks the truth and honesty. Therefore, science-based change is the one that we should seek through development. Therefore, the purpose is that once we achieve this social change by engaging and empowering the key stakeholders, most important in this, again I would like to underline, we talked, of course we had very recently the International Women's Day, we talked of 𝗙់_Shakti. So therefore I feel including the women, because today the feminization of agriculture, very often those women who go into agriculture today are not going as the owner of a plot, but very often as a laborer. Now, how do we protect their rights and their contribution to the development process, along with the youth, is very, very important. So, I would like to underline that with the increasing feminization of agriculture, and which is basically based on labor enhancements and increase by women, if 𝗙់_Shakti has to be utilized properly, we must be able to dovetail what is best suited to really take their talent and help build the system, which will be stronger day by day and every day. Therefore, the roadmap that we are able to develop must be able to support equitable access to information, knowledge, and communication resources. Resources mentioned were made. We have to strengthen our resources so that everyone has access to communicate. Facilitated by the participation, multi-stakeholders dialogue and the collective action, the dialogue, the kind that we are having today, and the roadmap once we prepare after this meeting, hopefully, we will be able to take it for trial at quite a few places. You can begin wherever you are, because each trial will come up with the differentiated agroecological situations, because agriculture in this country is so diverse, so one size would not fit all. You all have to work together, and therefore a national movement in the process is required to fill that development process. To achieve this, we must ensure required core comprehensiveness. We must be able to have the competencies at the ground level. The communication research should be strengthened. Science of communication should be brought into play. And the students who are graduating today in any field must be given education for communication. The participatory approaches, adult education, community media, and the consultancies and facilitation of skill development should all be taken together to make the difference. I would finally like to touch a few points which are very particular for the development of agriculture and the rural agrarian systems. Number one, there is a need for multi-stakeholder solutions from farmers to policymakers, administrators, to ensure effective collaboration and sustainable and inclusive change. Today, the diversity is much more wider, and our path of development is much more uneven. So if you have a path to travel which is uneven, the trough and the hills, you cannot walk very fast. You cannot be able to reach on the other side as quickly as possible. We have an aim to achieve a particular degree of so-called prosperity. We want to build new India, prosperous India, and to do that, the unevenness has to be broken, and for that purpose, it is extremely important that the policy makers start understanding that there is something called a collaborative change for inclusiveness. It is a must for creating the real strength for meeting the exigencies and the kind of stresses today we are facing world over is the climate change. The climate change to be made climate smart agriculture, as Ravi was able to mention, along with the risk management, the risk fund given by the government of India, should be put together and taken care of so that 1 + 1 is 11. And the synergy of development is further accelerated. The participatory approach should be seen as a bottom-up approach. In the rural areas, when we go to the rural areas, it is so very important you listen to the ground realities. And it is not the top-down, it is the bottom-up. If it is bottom-up, then you get the ground reality, because bottom is the ground. And to get the ground realities, we should be able to reach the farmers as much as comprehensively as possible. And the farmers' partnership is so very important, so that their voices will mean the voice of India. As a matter of fact, if you have to build new India, you have to travel through the fields of farmers. You have to travel through the villages, which many, as you can see, that this is the new way if you have to develop. I would only like to say, finally, that the local ownership is the basis for sustainability. And the local ownership will come only when you give the respect and the commitment to the people who are involved at the ground level, and that is the farming community at large. The protection of farmers' rights. There are rights to the farmers. If the farmer is conserving a particular medicinal plant for generations and generations, and this is going to help the upcoming future generations, so those farmers ought to be rewarded for their rights. So the observance of rewarding the farmers for their work that generations they have done over, also not only in conserving the biodiversity, genetic resources, the farmers' varieties, indigenous knowledge, traditional knowledge, but also the soil and water conservation. All these conservations, along with the additional traditional knowledge that they provide, which we cannot get anywhere else. So for that purpose, I will say that please keep the farmer at the center stage of development. If farmer develops in this country, the country is developed. So I want to leave this message. The road to prosperity and to prosperous new India, again, please remember, has to pass through the farmer's field. Finally, I wish the snail and you all, my dear friends, the best in your endeavor and meeting the aspirations of our people. Thank you very much for your attention.
The first panel is concluding, sir. So, एक बार फिर जहाँ आपको मसल दीजिए बढ़िया से.
Good morning once again to all distinguished delegates, speakers, and I think the initial session what we had was a roadmap for the rural communication, and now after me again there is going to be a science of communication. Now here one thing is very conspicuous today is that without communication there is no brand. Branding means communication is the integral part of branding. And every one of you are sitting here, you are all brand of your own self. Isn't it? We are represented. You are the brand ambassador of your work. Maybe there could be some kind of a individual characteristics. Somebody could be extrovert, somebody could be introvert, but end of the day, brand is a brand. It is not that extrovert only will be visible. It's like the branding means what today we are talking at different perspectives. In this kind of a world, how it is becoming very important and to sustain for any organization, any business is very important. We are the challenging world when we are talking of a climate change. Everybody has to take in mind that how do we help, how do we encourage the farming community to address this kind of a climate challenge. And on top of it, it is resonating like what few years back it was called as a VUCA world. It's nothing different. So VUCA world is emerging day by day, every day. Even today, our agriculture is becoming, either it is called as a rain situation, whether it is a pest infestation levels, it's becoming so dynamic. It is becoming day by day, unpredictability is increasing, which is nothing but we are facing the uncertainties. Agree? So how do we make in this kind of a world? It is like when you are talking of branding. Branding is like, very small subject kind of a thing appears here. But it is when you, it is like a branding means you're going back to your basics. So I was just recalling maybe all youngsters are also here. We all know the marketing guru in, who is that? 𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗱, right? We are considering. So what is the definition of 𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗱? The definition of the brand. It is like a name, a term, or sign of symbol, or a combination of these identities identifying a maker or seller or the product. It could be any of these things. You are making it as a brand. The same definition in terms of the marketing. When you take it, a brand is how a company differentiates itself from its peer brands. Again, it is coming brand. Peer is also promoting a brand. You are also promoting a brand. So it is nothing but how are you going to communicate your USPs. This is how you can be ahead of your competition or ahead of your peers. So, a conglomerate of all these things is making a brand. It can be your organization, it can be your product. So now in this context, how I wanted to make it, 𝗙ષિ𝗹𝗹 has used the branding concept to become a very well established, successful entity. So in this context, I wanted to compliment and congratulate Amit, the snail integral. He should have the kind of, he has the kind of a guts within a few years of making his company, taking such kind of event with such big stalwarts of the industry. All the high profile people are sitting here, including our Padma Bhushan 𝗙់sahab. So thank you very much for coming here, and we are feeling highly elated you sitting here in this conference. Thank you very much. So I'll just take you through how we have used all these things and how we have become a company of 50 years. We are celebrating the Golden Jubilee. It is a company which has started in 1972 from the place called Muzaffarpur in Bihar. Now we are reaching here all the way in this 50 years to Delhi. And our philosophy of this, how we are helping the farmers both in terms of qualitatively and quantitatively to get his produce through our high quality products. This is what our vision and mission. Obviously, if you go through any kind of a website of our company, you can go through it. So the kind of a vision what we had is that how we want to become a global brand of choice for our customers and other stakeholders through partnership, performance and innovation. And mission is that a constant endeavor to improve the livelihoods of rural communities driven through our value-added agriculture by providing effective crop solutions to the farmers across the globe. Today, with this kind of a vision and mission, where did we reach? We have reached to a position of the 5th largest player of India. We are aiming to become $1 billion company by 25-26. It's very aggressive task in next couple of years because the kind of agriculture from India is spearheading, how it is growing. We are taking into that factors into the mind. We are going for a almost 3x growth of our company. And we are present in Pan India and a team of motivated 1,200 employees, and we have the dedicated operations and technical people, sincere logistics, back-end support staff, all these things. Without these things, any organization cannot move ahead. And this is our manufacturing. We have 7 manufacturing sites, 1,600 branches, 21 offices, 1 R&D unit, and we have 4,500 distributors and almost 4.5 lakh retailers. This is what how we are representing on a pan-India basis. So we are expanding ourselves into the next origin. These are all our people. Our Mr. 𝗖𝗵𝗲𝗋𝗋 is our chairman and managing director. 𝗙់ص𝗨𝗪𝗓𝗋, he is our founder. Executive director, he is a founder member of the company. Because now it is the second generation, like Mr. 𝗙𝗵𝗲𝗋 and Mr. 𝗙𝗪𝗪 are in the leading the organization. The founders were 𝗙𝗪𝗪's father, and then 𝗙់ص𝗨𝗪𝗓𝗋, who is the father of Mr. 𝗙𝗪𝗪. This is myself, Suresh Reddy. I am taking care of President as a sales and marketing and operations, and Mr. 𝗵𝗲𝗄, who is incidentally is here. He is our Vice President. 𝗵𝗲𝗄, please stand up. And the kind of a milestones what we have is that in 1972 when we have started, and we have expanded to ourselves to 𝗵𝗵𝗲𝗪, the unit which we have started in 1996. Then 2004 we have floated another sister concern company called Agro Life Science Corporation. And 2012 we have crossed 750 crore, and from there by 2022 we have crossed the 2,000 crore mark. These are our kind of a milestones. And yeah, the brand startup of this company. So without any kind of a brand, no organization would survive. This is one of the brand which is very, very synonym to the 𝗙𝗪𝗪. When you go and talk at the farmer level, they will talk relax it. This is the brand which we have parallelly launched along with those days. We call it as 𝗖𝗵𝗲𝗪, the brand which they have launched in India. So along with that, we were like a co-promoting, and those days we have started almost it is like early 1990s when we have started the branding promotion. With this brand, we are got into a league of brand-oriented company from the manufacturing-based company to the brand promoter and the brand marketing company. And other parallel brands, what we have developed simultaneously was the 𝗵𝗵𝗲𝗪, which is the brand name of 𝗙𝗪𝗪, 𝗃𝗃, 4G, 𝗃𝗃. These are like household names starting from Bengal to Gujarat and Kashmir to Kanyakumari. These are the kind of a brands which we get the farmers recognize. These are the brands from 𝗙់. So how branding, the concept what we have used to sustain the organization to become a bigger player in this space. On which this is a very important session with, it's a power pack session I would say, because we have a very good panelists who are into agriculture expansion, who are into the study and research of how the innovation which happened in labs can go to the real farms, can go to the touch the real site where it is required. So during the course of another 45 minutes, 50 minutes, we will discuss upon these issues, and I will also try that it does not become a monologue. So for that, every speaker which are in our panel, I will first request them to one by one to give a 5-minute to 7-minute introductory remark. After that, we will discuss on the issues on which they have focused, and at the last, we will have some few questions from audience as well. So we will first we will start our panel. We will start from Professor Arvind Kumar, who is 𝗙𝗵𝗶𝗱 and also former Vice Chancellor of Rani Lakshmi-Bai Central Agriculture University. So we will like to know from him what are the basic challenges. Why I have just discussed that still in conventional media the rural communication or agriculture tech communication is not there. So what are the major challenges we see in this field, and what are the ways to tackle it? So Dr. Arvind, Professor Arvind Kumar.
Thank you, 𝗙ص and Amit for giving me the opportunity. In fact, it's a science for communication, and this is one of the important aspects how really we can take the technology from lab to land, and also the feedback from land to land. What we need to do, in fact, there are issues. For example, we have the marginal farmer. Almost 86% are marginal and small farmers, and they are spread in the hard-reach places. Localized information, the variable climatic conditions, diversified farming systems. So what we need to do? We need to have a good skills who can really transmit, who can listen to the problems of the farming community, who can provide the feedback and ultimately give the solutions. So the boosting strategy, boosting the skills of the stakeholders and confidence. Unfortunate part is we start training programs or we start orientation programs, but without knowing our customer. So the first approach should be we should know our customer, KYC, and also we should learn how can do it ourselves, do it yourself. Until unless any practice is being adopted by a particular community or a farmer and ultimately spread to different people, it will not be a practical solution. So we need a smart agriculture for smart farmers by smart people. Really, do we have the smart people to communicate? And this is the area where we need to educate as far as the communication strategy is concerned. We lack in communication strategy. Of course, there are changes. Now many new avenues are coming up, but we need to further educate and develop a good communication strategy. Another issue is farmer gets information from diversified places, maybe from input dealers, maybe from media, from scientific staff, developmental workers, but there is no platform to validate the information. Sometimes they get misleading information, the farmer is thoroughly confused and is not able to take the right decision. So we need to create a community platform, community leadership in that case, maybe at a district level, which may percolate to the village level through the smart, you can say, the practices. You have the delivery bank or communication through the media, mass media processes. So this way, at this farmers-led extension need to be more focused to provide a real solution. The mapping of resources again is an important aspect. Climate change, under the climate change scenario which has been talked about, PM has already given Panchanga that we need to have net zero emission by 2070. We could attain the food security, we will know it, by producing 330 million tons and horticulture 351 million tons. But do we have nutritional security? That is also we need to educate and communicate. We need to enhance productivity with higher profit, food security, nutritional security, and livelihood end-to-end solutions, starting from production to market. That will start the concern. So communication, end-to-end communication is needed. As far as the, there are some issues the communicator that should have certain C's like clarity, the commitment, consciousness, concrete solutions, correct information, coherent, then convincing information, confidence, creative attitude. So all these things are needed. So we need to create the smart communicator and ultimately the smart agriculture, the precision agriculture, which is the need of the hour. As in the previous session, the people have talked about the conservation agriculture. This we can do. You know, earlier we used to have the different methodology, like we used to have the demonstrations, village level workers, later village level officers. We need friends, not the officers or workers. We need the Kisan Mitra, T&B, Atma and KVKs. We had 731 or so farm science centers located in different districts. Many districts have even two. But the connectivity between the KVKs, scientific staff and the developmental worker. At the district level, you know, there are number of departments, starting from horticulture, plant protection, and so on. The number of departments, soil and water conservation is different, you know, women empowerment is different. But lack of coordination, lack of communication between the developmental workers and the scientific staff is a thing which we need to certainly do it. So like recently the UP government has taken 𝗵𝗍 and 𝗵𝗍𝗪, we also need to train the Kisan Mitra and Kisan Sarthi, and of course there is TV channel which is giving a lot of information, but still there are gaps. You know, the farmer needs to be educated right at the doorstep. How we can do it in his local language by a specialized person is need to do it. The biggest communication gap you can see, the three laws for the farming community were brought in, and we couldn't communicate why they were good, why they were not good. So this is really a communication gap. So communication has a big role to empower the farming community, and Professor 𝗭𝗏 Singh has rightly said, the empowering women who are the who will be the leaders in future, who are presently engaged in agriculture, and you may not be able to know, but it is a fact now. More than 50% girls students are coming to agriculture. So that's the strategy. Women empowerment is the real message which we do it, and this would certainly help when we need to have more and more understanding of the rural scenario and know our customers and validate our information. So refinement and validation and proper communication by the small people is the need of the hour. Thank you.
𝗭𝗏 Singh sir, Professor Arvind Kumar ji, fellow panelists, Dominic sir, Sumendra ji, and a good number of friends. This is a subject of my interest. Having worked on agricultural extension for the last 4+ decades, and I have seen a range of communication interventions, from early 70s till today. In a simplest possible terms, the communication is the process through which the message transmits from source to the medium, gets treated properly, and then again disseminated through a particular channel and goes down to the rural audience. When I talk about methods of communication, I will come to your point a little later. Generally, the communication process falls into 3 segments. When I communicate with my rural audience, I either follow an individual method or a group method or like a mass method. In individual method, normally it is face-to-face communication from the development functionary. In agriculture and allied sector, as Professor 𝗙𝗵𝗲𝗶 mentioned, either you have a village extension worker, or subject matter specialist of 𝗙cie𝗹𝗹𝗵𝗶 or a university scientist, getting in touch with the farmers or farmer group and communicating about range of technologies depending upon his area of specialization and covering areas of agriculture, horticulture, animal husbandry, dairy, fishery, poultry, so on and so forth. But when I communicate to my rural audience as an extension agent, I must see the social dynamics operating in the rural setting. And that is very important. Because you have socio-economic variations of large range. And also there, agro-ecological variations, on the other side of it. You have irrigated areas, rain-fed areas, you have a commercial crop area, you have the millet dominated areas, so on and so forth. And at the same time, as somebody mentioned, earlier speaker had mentioned, that you have large farmers, medium farmers, farmers from the weaker sections of the society, and at the same time you have the farmers who are looking for opportunities in agro-processing, agri-export, so on and so forth. And having that kind of scenario, you generally have 6 or 7 major sources of farm information for the farmers. Number one is farmer-to-farmer communication, which is predominantly operating in the rural setting. Number two, farmer organizations and farmer cooperatives working for the dissemination of information. Number three, as 𝗙𝗵𝗲𝗶 mentioned, you have institutions called as 𝗙cie𝗹𝗹𝗵𝗶, the universities and research institute outlets, basically driven by the scientists. Scientists are directly involved in the process of communication with the farmers. And there is second segment where development department functionaries get into the dissemination services and work with the farmers, inform the farmers. At the same time, you have another a very important channel of communication is media. And media can be bracketed into print media or electronic media or mass media or social media, so on and so forth. When it comes to print media, Mr. Dominic sir is here. The publications and magazines like 𝗙cie𝗹𝗹𝗵𝗶 brought out, or 𝗙cie𝗹𝗃, or the Indian Agriculture Today. And every agriculture university has, or every ISAN institute has, a publication in a printed form. Then you have electronic media, radio, TV, etc., etc. But when I use radio and TV for my rural communication, I must see the content, the treatment to the content, the delivery part, the presentation part, the impact, and how it has been able to make change in the rural setting. And having said that, the communication channel and its application will vary. I'll take a couple of minutes more. And I come to your question towards the end. What are the challenges, future challenges? When I talk about communication, as I mentioned, there are different settings, rural settings. For example, irrigated area or commercial crop area, my communication with the farmers will be of a different nature. For example, let us take state of Maharashtra. You name a commodity and there is a very strong farmers organization. Like Maha Mango, Maha Grape, Maha Banana, Maha is Maharashtra, Maha Banana, Maha Pomegranate. And those strong farmers organizations, they have different kind of information needs to communicate with the farmers. But at the same time, if I go to let's say a farmland area, a tribal area, a desert area, or a rain-fed agriculture, my communication strategy will have to be different. What matters is, how do I use combination of print, electronic solution, number one, individual, group, or mass. That kind of combination I may have to have when I design a communication strategy for my rural audience. And particularly input service, support service agencies like fertilizer or plant protection, seed, so on and so forth, including biologicals. The best part of the communication strategy would be, work with the technology for a little longer period, get the feedback from the farmers, and then share your experiences. I could have continued, but there's a small slip. That's why time is running out. But with the organizers' permission, I'll just take 2 more minutes. For example, nowadays, we are using a lot of social media, whether it is YouTube or the WhatsApp or SMSs or high techs like the drone and machine learning, and you have so on and so forth. I was talking to some of the experts in Indian Agricultural Research Institute just a couple of days before, that deluge of information is coming through the mass media, and particularly the social media. Now, what are the checks and balances we should have for a technical information which is passing through the scientists to the development agencies to the farmers? And I believe as we progress, we should use all these social media, high-tech applications, but at the same time we should have some kind of filters so that information flows within the range of packaged practices prescribed by the universities or ICR institutes or industry with a lot of experience. Friends, I'll just reiterate a few points. Number one is, the stronger is the communication with the rural audience if it is based on the feedback. What is needed by the farmer, small farmer, marginal farmer, progressive farmer, if you are able to capture it, the communication will be very, very effective. Number two, source of message and the treatment to the message and medium that I use for my communication. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
In my opinion, and I was just talking to Rajin outside and I said, the role of communication must be to bring about a transformation. It can just not be a message or a decoding of a message. Unless it leads to a transformation or a change, I would call it an effective communication. And this is where I think the real challenge for the industry comes in. Because when we look at this, the primary objective for us in the agriculture space for communication essentially is to bring about improvement in, let's say, the productivity or profitability or empowerment of the larger farming community. So, second could be really enhancing sustainability, promoting good agricultural practices, bringing about confidence on the safety and integrity of the food supply chain. Equally important amongst the consumers, how do they perceive whatever farmer produces? Is it being pursued as a safe food? Is it being pursued as an ethical food? So these are the new challenges that are before the rural communicators. Other one is social transformation. I think the rural areas are trying for transformation, and looking at the data that we talked about, the rural data, rural consumption of data is actually comparable or maybe slightly higher than the urban consumption. So with so much of clutter that is going down the line, how do you cut the clutter and go to the core and bring about transformation? This will be crucial. Other thing which I thought was agriculture is in crying need of talent. So how does communication address capacity building of the industry itself, even in communication? Because all of us in the corporate world think in English and try and communicate in vernaculars, and this is where the whole communication goes for a toss. Just to give you an example, yesterday we prepared a press note. In the English, it turned out to be fabulous. Everybody right up to Philadelphia level was very happy. And when we translated that to Hindi, I found 15% of the entire matter and 100% of the core talking points were in English, which were written in Hindi. So, innovation को हिंदी में vernacular में innovation word use कर दिया. So, how do you make that communication reach out to the audiences? So this is again a big aberration out there. It needs to be addressed at this level. And agriculture is transforming into a smart industry. So as it goes into a smart industry, how does the communication also get smarter? It's a challenge before us in the industry. So this is where I think clearly there are some mega trends which are disrupting the larger agriculture chain. As we all understand, agriculture is full of inefficiencies. And what is disrupting is one of the areas clearly is sustainability. Second area is digitalization or the agri-tech space which is coming about, talking about mechanization and all these things. And then the other part is under this transformed condition, there are n number of communications that need to happen. It needs to happen for us at the B2G level, first of all, business to government, business to customer. So customer for us are the channels, the farmers, and many others. Business to business itself, business to regulator, and business to consumer of food, and the reverse way around, from all of them to the business. So I think there's a significant transformation happening at the communication level. And this is where I was just looking at what all could possibly. Okay. So I think there's a major aberration. One of the major aberration is the communicator from the innovators. Like we, for example, we are a global innovation company. The communication of the innovator and the communication of the public system has so much of gap in it. For example, we just heard package of practices and what it communicates down the line versus what we communicate. We are talking about latest technology. The public system is talking even today about the quinol flosses and the endosulfans and the DDTs and the PHCs and all that stuff. Then you are talking about transforming into a low residue, high impact intervention of let's say plant protection products. Whereas the public system is talking about going organic, going natural, and within natural, I think there are many shades of the natural. So, how do you get the alignment? Because the entire public communication and the extension system is, in my opinion, not aligned with the larger business reality. I mean, I may be pardoned for saying so, because they have their own system which is communicating what they are. So, how do you bring about the larger coherence between the two? It has to be a cogent, because otherwise we are ending up confusing the farmer, because he hears the government, and that's where the government machinery in that case somehow ends up becoming a noise, which should be avoided. Then again, there is a disparate set of downloader profile. Downloader profile, the socio-economic profile of the consumers or the farmers is so different at different places that I think the communication needs to get more and more customized. How do you do that? That's one big challenge that we're trying to address. There are cultural nuances. I think a lot of in the morning also when Ravi talked about it, Rajveer re-emphasized it, and everyone talked about it. How do we bring about those cultural nuances into our communication is very critical right now. The medium biases and the noises. The medium through which we communicate. For example, if you go through the social media, the attention span is hardly a few seconds. So how do you communicate within those few seconds to all those large number of hours? And how do you do that effectively and efficiently? So that's a big change for us. Then the feedback system. Has my communication been successful, or what transformation has it led to? How do I bring that loop back into my own system and then keep refining the system? This is where I think the role of artificial intelligence, machine learning, the new deep tech, I think that's where we need to bring those elements in because they are going to transform everything. They're going to disrupt everything. So how do I go and leverage those into a rural economy such as India? And that's where we have into a very diverse set of disparate stakeholders. How do you do that? Then there are a large number of new technologies coming in, ranging from precision agriculture. So on the one hand side, we are talking about a bullock driving farmer. On the other hand, we are talking about a IoT-driven decision making, which uses the spectra, that it uses satellites and it uses all the modern techniques to deliver need-based solutions at the farm gate level. So how do you do that communication when you're introducing these technologies? Because communication has to be an essential part of solutions that are going to the farmers. So how do you amalgamate these two to reach there? The other one which I'm saying is it has to be, communication also needs to be a partner to development, larger development phase. How do you integrate those two again between multiple communications happening from multiple agencies, including us as separate stakeholders, to the same farm, or same farming community? Because they get so many communication from so many people. So how do they decide on where we go? Then value chain communication. Yesterday we were sitting with the value chain players. They had a simple thing. The Indian bias, which is being promoted through the public system of processed food is bad food. Fresh cow, acha cow. So how do you get that communication back in? How do you create that uniformity because on the one hand side we are saying our processing is just about 1 to 2%, on the other hand side we are saying processed food is bad. So how do you bridge that gap again? Those are some of the challenges before us. I talked about behavioral changes. I think there's a significant role communication has to play in bringing about transformation. We are talking about pesticide residual rise disrupting basmati export to Punjab, to Europe through Punjab. That's one challenge that the industry is facing. How do you convince those guys sitting at the Punjab Agriculture Department that this is not an issue of pesticide? It is an issue of communication and stewardship. How do they work together in driving this communication to the end farmer that he needs to use the pesticide well ahead of the time when it should be used? Should not be used later. The pre-harvest interval needs to be respected. How do you do that communication jointly? Those are some of the big challenges I thought that we are trying to address at the corporate level and
specific question and communication. We say rural communication. I being a student, which has been one of the in a gender the least priority when we were there in the college and most complex component in the business. अगर agriculture में rural में specifically if we talk about brands and if we target agree today because most of us are from the agriculture background. If anyone can tell that we have a single brand which is popular across and everybody is aware of that, I'll be very surprised. If anybody can mention very specific brand which is popular, acceptable across the country. I don't think there will be any. There would be. Yeah, obviously there will be, and there are. But then if we see the communication, the gap, and that way it is being presented, that's a really challenging task, because the rural community and rural diaspora is very complex, and it's complex, much complex than we find here in urban areas. Secondly, the priorities from business side also, the way it should be taken, I think somewhere we are also lacking there. अगर अर्बन एरियाज का मैं बात करूँ, कोई भी ब्रांड का स्टोरी अगर हम लोग देखेंगे, जितना भी एडवर्टाइजमेंट हम लोग टीवी पर देखेंगे, स्टार्ट विथ फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल फियर फैक्टर. आपके दांत में दर्द है, वो आपके दांत का दर्द का कम बताएगा, वो बताएगा कि आपका थोड़े दिनों बाद में शकल कैसा हो जाएगा. इट्स अ काइंड ऑफ फियर. आप तो पॉलिसी बेचना है, वो आपको पॉलिसी का फायदा कम बताएगा, लेकिन वो आपको पहले डराएगा कि आपके माला कब गिरने वाली है. But if you compare all these things with the rural brand that we try to create, we will focus more on how it is going to benefit them over a period of time. So prosperity we will be talking about. We'll be talking about their benefit in future. Generally, people, I think, are hardly bothered about thinking in such a positive manner where we can create a brand. I think few very basic things which generally the brand communication companies or the PR companies they bring, I think we have to understand. But more than that, there are few points which I think if we can see. Second, the occupancy of mind. अगर अभी हम लोग देखें, मुझे नहीं पता आप लोगों में से कितने लोग गांव में जाते हैं. आज गांव में किसी भी यूथ के साथ बैठ के देख लीजिए, वो सारा दिन रील देख रहा हो. आप किस मीन से उस तक पहुंचना चाहेंगे? केवीकेस के पास पहुंचने वाले लोग बहुत कम हैं. जो पहुंचने वाले हैं, वो उनका एक एज ग्रुप दूसरा है, वो शायद खेत में काम नहीं कर रहे हैं या वो डिसीजन मेकर्स नहीं हैं. आपका न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ने वाले बहुत लोग कम हैं. टीवी पर आप ऐड, मुझे नहीं पता कितने इनपुट कंपनीज के लिए वो एक बेनिफिशियल प्रोपोजिशन बन सकता है. सो इट्स अ कॉम्प्लेक्स एंड देन ऑक्यूपाइंग द माइंड स्पेस which is actually already preoccupied with so many things, and then the information clutter which we have. Second, काफी सारे पॉइंट्स और काफी सारे क्वेश्चंस जो साहब ने रेज किए वो बड़े रिलेवेंट हैं. जो मैसेज जो जा रहा होता है, मैं थोड़े दिन पहले घर पे था तो मेरे फादर चूंकि किसान हैं, तो हम लोग बैठे हुए थे, डिस्कस कर रहे थे कि कहाँ क्या प्रोग्राम रहे. तो उन्होंने बताया कि कल मैं गया था जहाँ पर हम लोगों को एक जाकर साहब हैं जो कि ऑर्गेनिक प्रमोट करते हैं, तो ऑर्गेनिक के बारे में बता रहे थे और ऑर्गेनिक के फायदे बता रहे थे. और आज मैं था एक केवीके के प्रोग्राम में जहाँ पर वो बता रहे थे कि कौन से केमिकल यूज कर रहे हैं जिससे कि आपकी क्रॉप कितनी बेटर होने वाली है. तो इसे कि आई आज द क्वेश्चन कि कल जो बता रहे थे जाकर साहब के ऑर्गेनिक से सस्टेनेबिलिटी आएगी, वो ज़्यादा ठीक चीज़ है कि आज जो बता रहे हैं कि केमिकल डालने से आपकी क्रॉप अच्छी होने वाली है, वो ज़्यादा ठीक है. तो द कंफ्यूजन दैट वी आर इनटू एज अ फार्मर, तो ब्रांड के लिए स्पेस कहाँ बनाना है, तो वो फियर का जो फैक्टर का जो मैंने बात किया. सेकेंड, आई थिंक द अलाइनमेंट टू विच सर we get a different communication when it comes from the government policy side. उनका priorities कुछ different है, and all the agriculture things which we do, some or other way, either we are getting some benefit from the government, or the government is the buyer, or the government is selling even products which we need, or promoting some of the ideas which they think is a long-term idea for the farmers' benefit or sustainability of the farmers. जब हम लोग केवीके रिसर्च इंस्टीट्यूशंस और वहाँ से आइडियाज लेते हैं, they come up with their own scientific ideas, and the terminology that they use is more scientific, which many of times farmers are unable to understand. And then third, when we come from as a corporate, तो एक अलग आइडियाज रहता है. तो मैं कई बार बहुत सारी जगह पे बोलता हूँ कि हम सब लोग और वो एग्रीकल्चर से आने वाले लोगों के लिए, मुझे लगता था पहले कि खाली हम लोग एग्रीकल्चर से बैकग्राउंड से जो लोग हैं उनमें वो प्रॉब्लम थी कि वी आर सफरिंग फ्रॉम समथिंग कॉल्ड इंब्रीडिंग डेफिशिएंसी सिंड्रोम, क्योंकि हम लोग बाहर के आइडिया को कभी एक्सेप्ट कर नहीं देते, बिकॉज वी थिंक बिकॉज आई एम अ साइंटिस्ट सो व्हाट आई से इज द करेक्ट थिंग, और इफ आई एम फ्रॉम अ पर्टिकुलर कंपनी व्हाट आई से इज द करेक्ट थिंग. देयर इज अ लॉट ऑफ silos which never allows us to get the better ideas from other people. Another, the last point I would like to highlight for people here. हम लोगों ने ट्रेडिशनल वे से जो भी ब्रांड क्रिएट करने की कोशिश की है, एंड नाउ इफ यू सी मेनी ऑफ द स्टार्टअप्स व्हिच आर कमिंग, जो गैप एक कंपनी को 15 साल 20 साल जो समय लगा, there are startups who are doing it in I think 20 days, because the way they are reaching to the people is much faster than what we can imagine. और ये जो गैप जो है उसमें एक ब्रांड जो जितने भी जो कंपनी जो ट्रेडिशनली जो बिजनेस में है, I think they will have to see how will they be able to compete with so aggressive in approach, and approach not only towards their product, not only towards their marketing, but their communication is also very aggressive. तो हम लोग जो ट्रेडिशनली जिन चैनल्स को अप्रोच करना चाहते हैं, वो लोग कैसे इस एग्रेसिव मोड को चैलेंज करेंगे, दैट्स अगेन अ चैलेंज. सो विद दिस पॉइंट्स योर डिस्कशन फर्दर.
Mr. Vijay Sardana, who is an advocate, and who is also deal with a lot of agri-related rural issues, food-related issues, agri-business-related issues. So, all the speaker up to now has talked about gaps, challenges. So, we want to know from you, Mr. Sardana, that how the government regulations, there are still regulations which are supporting agriculture and agri-business, but how the government regulations can support it in better way going forward, and right now where you see the bottlenecks due to which these questions are arising.
आप सबका शुक्रिया. दोस्तों, ये इशू कम्युनिकेशन का है, चाहे सरकार हो, किसान हो, आप हो, हम हैं. मेरी लाइफ का कॉन्सेप्ट बहुत सिंपल है. जिंदगी इतनी मुश्किल नहीं है जितनी हम बनाने की कोशिश करें. लाइफ ऑपरेट्स ऑन कॉमन सेंस, और मैं हमेशा अपनी टीम, अपने साथियों को कहता हूँ कि जरूरत से ज्यादा दिमाग लगाओगे ना, खर्चा बढ़ाओगे, रिजल्ट नहीं मिलेगा. कीप लाइफ सिंपल, इंक्लूडिंग इन कम्युनिकेशन. हम बात कर रहे हैं हिंदुस्तान में कम्युनिकेशन की. महाभारत कौन सिखाता है? क्या स्टोरीज थी? कौन से कॉलेज में पढ़ाते? रामायण के बारे में किसको पढ़ाते? सबको पता है ना. पंचतंत्र की कहानियां बच्चों से लेकर बूढ़ों तक सबको समझ में आती है और सब मजे से सुनते हैं. किसी साइंटिस्ट ने नहीं लिखी. इससे क्या पता लगता है? लाइफ को सिंपल रखो, जार्गन्स का इस्तेमाल कम से कम करो. पंचतंत्र की कहानियों के ऑथर के बारे में किसी को नहीं पता, लेकिन उसका आउटपुट सबको पता है. प्रॉब्लम जब होती है कि हम ऑथर पे ज्यादा वेटेज देते हैं, कंटेंट पे कम देते हैं, तब प्रॉब्लम शुरू होती है. कम्युनिकेशन को हम लोगों ने इंडस्ट्री बना दिया है, उसका ऑब्जेक्टिव खत्म कर दिया. अब पर्पस क्या है? आपको कम्युनिकेशन में सच्चाई बतानी है या सच्चाई के अलावा कुछ और बताना है? दोनों के लिए कम्युनिकेशन जरूरी है. अगर आपको सच्चाई बतानी है तो दिमाग लगाने की जरूरत नहीं है, तो सच्चाई वो बोलो, जिस भाषा में समझ में आता है बता. उसके अलावा कुछ बताना है तो फिर आपको अमिताभ बच्चन भी चाहिए, म्यूजिक भी चाहिए, डांस भी चाहिए, सब कुछ चाहिए. सच्चाई के अलावा सब चलेगा, उस पर आप खर्चा कर रहे हैं. कम्युनिकेशन आप कर क्यों रहे हो? किसी को कन्विंस करना है या कंफ्यूज करना है? ये भी स्ट्रेटेजी है. कन्विंस करना बहुत सिंपल सी बात है यार, 2+2 is 4. लेकिन फाइनेंशियल मार्केट में हम रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट, IRR, दिस इतना उसको कंफ्यूज करते हुए नहीं यार, शेयर नहीं आने ले, छोड़ो यार, अपना रियल एस्टेट ही ठीक है, गोल्ड ही ठीक है. ये सब है। और मैं आपको एग्जाम्पल दूंगा, लाइव एग्जाम्पल, क्योंकि मैंने पूरी जिंदगी कम्युनिकेशन ही हैंडल करा, स्टार्टिंग फ्रॉम डे 1 ऑफ माय जॉब एंड टिल एज ए लॉयर। पूरी जिंदगी कम्युनिकेशन ही तो है। हम लोग करते क्या सुबह से शाम तक? कोई नई चीज कर रहे हैं? बच्चों से कम्युनिकेट कर रहे हैं, बीवी से कर रहे हैं, दोस्तों से कर रहे हैं, टीवी पे कर रहे हैं, चैनल्स पे कर रहे हैं, कोर्ट में कर रहे हैं, कोर्ट के बाहर कर रहे हैं। कर क्या रहे हैं हम लोग सुबह से शाम तक? जैसे ही मुंह खोलते हैं कम्युनिकेशन ही तो कर रहे हैं। और सबसे इंटरेस्टिंग चीज कम्युनिकेशन की क्या है? यू कैन नॉट कम्युनिकेट। यहां कितने लोग सो रहे हैं, ये भी तो कम्युनिकेशन है कि आपका प्रोग्राम बोरिंग है। आधे लोग मोबाइल से खेल रहे हैं क्योंकि उनको आपकी स्पीच में मजा नहीं आ रहा है, ये भी कम्युनिकेशन है। तो आप छुपा कैसे सकते हो कम्युनिकेशन? तो सवाल इस बात का है कि हम कम्युनिकेशन, चाहे वो लैब टू लैंड हो, फार्मर टू साइंटिस्ट हो, कंपनी टू कंज्यूमर हो, कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता, अप्रोच एक ही होती है। ये सिर्फ हम अपने आप को एक्सपर्ट बनाने के लिए अपने आप को अलग अलग डब्बों में बांधते हैं और उसके आगे एक स्पीकर लगा देते हैं। मैं इस डब्बे का मालिक, तो उस डब्बे के मालिक, इसके आगे हम कुछ नहीं करते। सवाल अब इतना सा है, आपका कम्युनिकेशन लीड बेस्ड है, आप जबरदस्ती कर रहे हो। मेरे को सुनना ही नहीं, आप सुनाए जा रहे हो, तो क्यों सुनूंगा मैं? फिर आपको यार कम्युनिकेशन इज नॉट इफेक्टिव। अरे मुझे सुनना ही नहीं था यार, मुझे उस समय म्यूजिक सुनना था, आप मुझे स्पीच सुना रहे हो, मैं सुनूंगा? आई एम नॉट इन द स्टेट ऑफ माइंड टू लिसन टू योर स्क्रिप्ट। तो पॉइंट है कि हम कम्युनिकेशन करना क्या चाह रहे हैं। मैं आपके सामने 2-3-4 एग्जांपल जो मैंने मेरी जिंदगी में किए रखता हूं, फिर मैं स्थान ग्रहण करूंगा, बाद में कंक्लूजन आपका मेरा नहीं। When I was business head of Tetra Pak, उससे पहले जितने भी जूसेस आते थे वो टिन में आते थे, ठीक? फ्रूटी के ऊपर जो स्ट्रॉ चिपकी हुई होती है वो लॉन्च में रहा था। मैंने जाके कंपनीज को एक ही बात कही, हाइजीनिक प्रोडक्ट विद बैड स्ट्रॉ। अब बताओ किस बात के पैसे चाहिए? हाइजीनिक स्ट्रॉ चाहिए या हाइजीनिक प्रोडक्ट विद ईटिंग और कंज्यूमिंग विद बैड स्ट्रॉ? हाइजीन वाज द ओनली मैसेज पीपल अडॉप्टेड। कोई अमिताभ बच्चन नहीं, कोई लंबी चौड़ी कहानी नहीं, सिर्फ एक लाइन का मैसेज विद ए पोस्टर एमडी के सामने चिपका दिया, इज योर प्रोडक्ट हाइजीनिक? बस, कोई लंबी कहानी नहीं। वो रोज उसको देखता और रोज उसके दिमाग में कुछ मैसेज आता कि यार मैं कर क्या रहा हूं। 1 महीने में ऑर्डर आने शुरू हो गए। यू हैव टू हिट एट द नीड, लॉजिक। कोई जार्गन नहीं, कोई डिजाइनिंग नहीं, अपने ही कंप्यूटर पे बैठ के खुद ही डिजाइनिंग की थी। रीवा में मैंने सोया प्लांट लगाया। लोग कहते हैं सर मार्केट में बहुत कंपटीशन है, अडानी है, रुचि है, ये है, वो है। मैंने होगा यार, मैं किसी को नहीं जानता, मैं जानता हूं कस्टमर को प्योर माल चाहिए, बाकी मुझे कोई लेना देना। एक लाइन का मैसेज, सबसे शुद्ध तेल मेरे ब्रांड में, सके आके फैक्ट्री देख। कंफ्यूजन है ना कि मैंने गलत, मैं भी बाकी की तरह एडवर्टाइजमेंट करे जा रहा हूं, वेरी गुड प्रोडक्ट, वेरी गुड प्रोडक्ट, लेकिन बता नहीं रहा बन कैसे रहा है। यू डोंट वांट टू ट्रस्ट मी, वेरी गुड, डोंट ट्रस्ट मी, कम एंड वेरीफाई। ट्रस्ट बट वेरीफाई। I was operating at 85% capacity utilization when industry was operating at 35 with premium, 100% advance. ट्रस्ट हो गया। कोई अमिताभ बच्चन नहीं, कुछ नहीं। सबसे सस्ता मोड ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन जो गांव में लोकल टीवी चैनल होता है ना, केबल वाले, वो 100 रुपए लेते हैं वो टिक करके, उसको 300 रुपए दो, क्या दिन में 3 बार चलाना है। लंच डिनर में जब लोग घर में बैठे होते हैं दिन में मैं चलाना, कोई घर में नहीं होगा, कैसा कैसा। जब लोग घर पे बैठे बस वो नीचे टिक कर चला देना, ये 300 रुपए ले। दैट वाज द ओनली एडवर्टाइजमेंट। आई वाज वेरी हैप्पी विद दैट। पंजाब में हमने कनोला लॉन्च किया, आई वाज विद यूपीएल। 8 साल मेहनत करी, आउटकम ये आया कि साहब ये प्रोडक्ट की डिमांड नहीं है, बंद कर देना चाहिए। आई विल नॉट गो इनटू डिटेल, सुरेश जी इज हियर, ही नोस। क्या हुआ? मैंने जय भाई को बोला यार समथिंग इज रॉन्ग विद योर कम्युनिकेशन। आप उसको सब कुछ सिखा रहे हो, काम की बात नहीं बता रहे। किसान को क्या चाहिए? उसको आपकी टेक्नोलॉजी नहीं चाहिए, आपको उसका बीज नहीं चाहिए, आपकी पेस्टिसाइड नहीं चाहिए। ये किसान की नीड नहीं है, ये उसके टूल्स है। उसकी नीड है कमाई। कमाई में हेल्प कर रहे हो क्या? नहीं कर रहे ना, तो क्या भाई यू शुड वेस्ट टाइम। हमने सिर्फ एक काम किया, कॉस्ट ऑफ व्हीट प्रोडक्शन, कॉस्ट ऑफ कनोला प्रोडक्शन, कॉस्ट निकाल लो, मार्केट रियलाइजेशन, किसान के सामने बैलेंस शीट रख दी, पैसा कमाना तो ये कर ले, बाकी नहीं तो मर्जी तेरी। लोग बोलते हैं किसान माइग्रेट नहीं होता, डाइवर्सिफिकेशन इज डिफिकल्ट। 5 मिनट बाद किसान पूछता था बीज किधर से मिलेगा, कितनी देर लगी डाइवर्सिफिकेशन? 5 मिनट। सच बोलो ना यार, क्यों कहानियां सुना रहे हो उसको कि भाई सीड इज दिस दैट इज द जीएम टेक्नोलॉजी, एक्स टेक्नोलॉजी, वाई टेक्नोलॉजी? उसको किसी में इंटरेस्ट नहीं है यार, कमाई में इंटरेस्ट है। उसके काम की बात करो सुनेगा, आप अपने काम की बात कर रहे हो उसको इंटरेस्ट नहीं है। That is why then you look for strategies and communications and all jargons and Amitabh Bachchans and all over. जरूरत नहीं है। इसीलिए मैं कह रहा हूं ऑब्जेक्टिव क्या है। पोल्ट्री किसान को चाहिए फीड, अब उसको आप बहस सुना रहे हो, माई फीड इज गुड, माई फीड इज बैड। एक बात याद रखिएगा, जानवर झूठ नहीं बोलते। मैं अपनी गाड़ी के अंदर डीओसी के बैग रख के चलता, बड़ा किसान है, अच्छा कस्टमर है, क्या करा रहा है क्या नहीं कर रहा है, एफसीआर क्या है, ये वो बहस करने से कोई फायदा नहीं। देखो लगता है कि मेरा डीओसी खराब है, अच्छा मुझे नहीं पता, ये पकड़ बैग, 30 मुर्गियां बाजू में रख, 20 दिन बाद फोन करना एफसीआर कितना मिला। 20 दिन की बात है, क्या कम्युनिकेशन करना है? उसने मुर्गी को खिलाया, देखा वेट गेन ज्यादा है, उसका कम है, यार माल अच्छा बेचना शुरू होगी कम्युनिकेशन। अब मैं उसके लीफलेट बनाऊं, उसको रोज लेक्चर दूं, भाषण दूं, का यार प्रॉब्लम क्या है? जितना मैं उसको लेक्चर दूंगा, गिफ्ट दूंगा, चाय पानी का इंतजाम करूंगा, जीप हायर करके गांव तक जाऊंगा, इतने में तो वो बैग फ्री दे दो ना उसको। कॉस्ट बेनिफिट वो खुद देख लेगा, आपसे बात कर लेगा। मेरी टीम बोलती सर नहीं दिया तो मैंने कहा देखो ऑब्जेक्टिव बहुत लाइफ का सिंपल है। अगर 20 दिन बाद उसका फोन आ गया, इसका मतलब तुम्हारी फीड काम कर रही, क्योंकि उसको अगली सप्लाई चाहिए, कौन अपना नुकसान करेगा? और अगर उसका दोबारा फोन नहीं आया, इसका मतलब तुम्हारे प्रोडक्ट ने काम नहीं किया, तुम जाके पूछना गलती का होगी। ये तुम्हें सीखना है, किसान को नहीं सीखना। उसने तो वर्डिक्ट दे दी, 20 दिन बाद फोन आया, मैंने भाई माल भेज दो, और पिछली बार जो बोरी फ्री दी थी उसके भी पैसे लिया। होगी कम्युनिकेशन। अब इसके अंदर जार्गन्स, स्ट्रेटेजीज, टेक्नोलॉजी मुझे नहीं पता कैसे इस्तेमाल होते हैं। इशू दूसरा आता है बहुत सिंपल, कि जब आप कम्युनिकेशन कर रहे हैं, मैं आर्टिकल लिखता हूं, रिटन कम्युनिकेशन, मैं साइंटिफिक आर्टिकल भी लिखता हूं, मेरा ब्लॉग 150 कंट्री में लोग देखते हैं। मैं किससे पढ़वाता हूं? मेरी बेटी से जो सब्जेक्ट की नॉलेज नहीं जानती, तो बेटा पढ़, और जो सी लाइन समझ में नहीं आ उसको काट दो। जब तेरे को समझ में नहीं आ रही तो आम आदमी को क्या समझ में आएगी? या तो मैं उस लाइन को मॉडिफाई करूं, सिंप्लीफाई करूं, कट आउट ऑफ ऑल द जार्गन्स, और सिंपली डिलीट इट। डोंट वेस्ट एनीबॉडीज टाइम एंड एनर्जी। आर्टिकल पॉपुलर हो गया, जैसा आपका आर्टिकल पढ़ के मैसेज क्लियर हो गया। और पर्पस क्या था? ये थोड़ी बताना था कि विजय सदाना कितनी इंग्लिश जानता है, कितने जार्गन जानता है, क्या जरूरत है यार? पर्पस तुम्हारा अपनी क्वालिफिकेशन दिखाना था या उसको समझाना था? लेट्स बी वेरी क्लियर। मेरा अपना YouTube चैनल 1 साल से कम समय पहले शुरू किया, सिंगल आदमी, ना एडिटर ना डिजाइनर, नॉट ए सिंगल पेनी इन प्रमोशन। आज 3.5 करोड़ के आसपास व्यूअर पहुंच रहे हैं और 30 करोड़ इंप्रेशन पहुंच गए हैं विदाउट सिंगल स्पेंडिंग ए पेनी। अपनी स्टडी टेबल से वीडियो बनाता हूं, अपलोड करता हूं आधे घंटे में। जब तक मेरी वाइफ तैयार होती है कोर्ट के लिए, मैं कहता बस 15 मिनट डिस्टर्ब मत करना, रिकॉर्डिंग करनी है। जब तक वो तैयार होती है, मेरा वीडियो तैयार होकर अपलोड हो जाता है। कहने का मतलब क्या है? लाइफ को सिंपल रखो। हम अपने एग्जिस्टेंस को जस्टिफाई करने के लिए बहुत सारे पैराफेरेलिया क्रिएट कर सकते हैं। क्या वास्तव में जरूरत है? नाउ इशू केम अप, द लास्ट पॉइंट, पॉलिसी मेकर्स को क्या करना चाहिए? सिंगल हैंडेडली मैंने हिंदुस्तान के 7 कानून बनवाए, ना मैंने फिक्की को चिट्ठी लिखी, ना सीआईए को डायरेक्ट चिट्ठी लिखी। ये प्रॉब्लम है, ये सॉल्यूशन है, इससे बेहतर आपके पास सॉल्यूशन तो आप कर दो, नहीं तो यही कर लो। पॉलिसी बदल दी सरकार, चाहे वो कोर्ट चेंज पॉलिसी थी, चाहे वो हिंदुस्तान का क्वारंटाइन एक्ट था, चाहे वो आपका लाइव स्टॉक इंपोर्टेशन एक्ट था, एसपीएसटीबीटी की गाइडलाइंस, एफएसएसएआई, निफ्टेम, ये सिंगल एक पेज के नोट के आउटकम है। कि आपके देश की समस्या ये है नहीं करोगे तो ये आउटकम है। करने के लिए सिंपल है, आपको दिमाग कुछ नहीं करना। ये 15 देशों ने अच्छी पॉलिसी बनाई हुई है, कट पेस्ट कॉपी कर लो विद सूटेबल मॉडिफिकेशन, आपका काम खत्म। सब कुछ इंटरनेट में फ्री। माय पॉइंट इज वेरी सिंपल, वेयर देयर इज अ विल देयर इज अ वे। सच बोलने के लिए कोई कॉम्प्लिकेशन नहीं है। उस भाषा का इस्तेमाल करो जो सामने वाला समझता है। आप क्या हो मुझे उससे कोई लेना देना नहीं। मेरे काम की बात करोगे मैं सुनूंगा, इसके अलावा कुछ भी बात करोगे मुझे नहीं पता क्या करना चाहिए। धन्यवाद।
I think this industry, specifically the agrochemical industry, it faces a problem of perception more than anything else. I know the industry is doing very well. All the companies are growing, but I think all the owners of various companies will agree that it's mostly the problem of perception. The farmer is not the problem. The farmer is using the products. He knows very well what is good for him and what's not. But the problem, I think, all of this industry, which I feel all should come together, where communication is most required, is not to promote your individual brand, because those companies are doing very well anyways. But the problem the industry faces is the problem of perception on board, because and that's primarily, I would say, the government officials, bureaucrats, the common urban landlady who's housewife, because the perception what they feel, oh no, there's poison coming, and how that perception has been generated is not by one or two messaging, but it's a sustained campaign that has happened against the Indian food industry. That आपके खाने में जहर आ रहा है. You had the likes of Aamir Khan, you had the likes of 𝗖𝗵𝗲𝗍𝗍, which everybody, I know somewhere back of my mind it is there for all owners also. So I would suggest that the industry should come together and have a concerted fund or a campaign to actually demolish this myth, because this is, I know for a fact, I myself as a common average user used to think that there has to be truth, there has to be, but once we got the details, and I was lucky enough to actually be associated with one of the companies here, and we did this rebuttal to the Aamir Khan program on 𝗖𝗵𝗲𝗍𝗍, a long rebuttal which was aired on TV also, but that's just like a drop in the ocean. You actually need a sustained campaign to actually make people know the truth. What is it there? I mean, we need to make people aware of what's happening in Sri Lanka, when they went organic overnight, and what happened to that country. Nobody actually talks much about it. But that was a disaster which actually started the downfall of Sri Lanka as a country. That's all I observed.
Chief Sustainability Officer, Syngenta India Limited, Private Limited.
एग्री केमिकल इंडस्ट्री है, उसको अचीव करने में कितनी दोनों के बीच में कितना डिफरेंस है, कितना लेवल आप मेंटेन कर रहे हैं?
आज की तारीख में अगर हम फूड प्रोडक्शन देखा जाए तो रिकॉर्ड लेवल्स पहुंच चुकी है। तो उसमें तो क्रॉप प्रोटेक्शन और एग्री इनपुट्स का अहम भूमिका रही है, एंड कई सारे क्रॉप इमरजेंसीज में क्रॉप प्रोटेक्शन केमिकल्स जो कि एक क्रॉप मेडिसिन के तरह इस्तेमाल किया जाता है अपने क्रॉप्स के लिए, तो पेस्ट डिजीज़ेस और कई सारे मुसीबतों से बचाता आ रहा है। तो पिछले 10 साल जो आप देख रहे हैं, काफ़ी बहुत अच्छे कदम उठाए गए हैं। तो मोस्ट रिसेंटली अगर देखा जाए तो हमारा ड्रोन का स्प्रेइंग जो अलाउ किया गया है, उसमें ना केवल लेबर शॉर्टेज तो सभी को पता है कि एग्रीकल्चर में बहुत ज़्यादा है, तो इस टेक्नोलॉजी से काफ़ी फ़ायदा हो सकता है और ये सस्टेनेबल भी है। बहुत कम मात्रा में पानी और सही प्रिसिशन एग्रीकल्चर जो कहते हैं, तो वो ड्रोन के तरह से छिड़काया जा सकता है। और ये एक्सपोजर इंसिडेंट्स जो होते हैं तो ये बिल्कुल निकाल देता है उसके। ड्रोन में इतने सारे फ़ायदे हैं। तो ड्रोन का SOP लगाना, और अभी कई देशों से आगे चल रहा है इंडिया, तो ये एक एग्जाम्पल है। और जो डिजिटाइजेशन पे जो एम्फेसिस हो रही है भारत सरकार की, वो भी एक बहुत ही अहम भूमिका है आगे चल के, क्योंकि इंडिया में जैसे कि जानते हैं 86% स्मॉल होल्डर फार्मर हैं। काफ़ी वास्ट कंट्री है, कई एग्रोक्लाइमेटिक कंडीशंस हैं, कई कल्चरल एंड एग्रीकल्चर प्रैक्टिसेस हैं, और ये स्मॉल होल्डर कम्युनिटी में कैसे रीच आउट किया जाए, तो ये इसमें डिजिटाइजेशन विल प्ले अ मेजर रोल। तो इससे एक ही समय में कई मिलियन फार्मर्स के पास सही तरीके क्या हैं और क्या वो प्रेडिक्टेबिलिटी यू कैन ब्रिंग इन टू एग्रीकल्चर थ्रू AI एंड अदर डिजिटाइजेशन टूल्स।
सर, जिस तरह से हम देखते हैं केमिकल्स की जितनी भी इंडस्ट्रीज हैं उनकी जो बैलेंस शीट है वो पिछले 10 सालों में काफ़ी बड़ी है। इसको लेकर आप क्या कहेंगे कि ये सरकार के कदम थे, जिस तरह से सरकार ने एग्री सेक्टर पर जितना निवेश किया तो एग्री केमिकल्स इंडस्ट्री को उसमें बढ़ने में मौका मिला है, तो क्या कहेंगे आगे आने वाले सरकार के कदमों को और पीछे जो भी सरकार?
जैसे कि आप ने सुना होगा, ये एग्रोकेमिकल्स में इंडिया हैज़ बिकम द 4th लार्जेस्ट मैन्युफैक्चरर इन द वर्ल्ड और 2nd लार्जेस्ट एक्सपोर्टर। तो इसका मतलब है कि काफ़ी प्रोत्साहन मिली है एंड इंडस्ट्री के तरफ से भी काफ़ी कदम उठाए गए हैं। तो पहले जैसे कि न्यू केमिस्ट्रीज जो बोलते हैं, न्यू मॉलिक्यूल्स जो बोलते हैं, वो एनवायरमेंटल फुटप्रिंट को भी कम किया है। R&D में बहुत ज़्यादा खर्चा एक्सपेंस लगाते हैं सारे कंपनियां। तो हर कंपनी जो R&D बेस्ड है, तो एक एग्जांपल दूं तो एक केमिकल को फ्रॉम डिस्कवरी टू कमर्शलाइजेशन आने में 11 साल लगता है और करीब 300 मिलियन डॉलर्स खर्च होते हैं उस पर। तो ये नहीं है कि हम ऐसे ही नए मॉलिक्यूल्स या नए केमिस्ट्री ला रहे हैं। बहुत ही रिसर्च के बाद इसमें गवर्नमेंट का भी प्रोत्साहन बहुत अच्छा है। तो
किसानों को मालूम नहीं होता था किस तरह से।
एग्जैक्टली, तो सही मात्रा में सही समय पर सही तरीके से कैसे डालें, तो ये हमारा फोकस रहा है। और नए खोज और नए केमिस्ट्री को हम आए दिन पेस्ट बढ़ता जा रहा है और पेस्ट का कॉम्प्लेक्स बहुत ही कॉम्प्लेक्स होता जा रहा है। कभी हम सोचते नहीं थे कि लोकस भी इतना नुकसान पहुंचा जा सकता है। फिर हर समय देखेंगे फॉल आर्मीवर्म करके एक नया सा पेस्ट आया। तो उन सब में हमको बहुत मदद मिली है विथ रजिस्ट्रेशन। जब तक हमारा रजिस्टर नहीं हो प्रोडक्ट तो इंडिया में नहीं ला सकते। तो पहले ज़माने में बोलते थे कि हम बहुत 20 साल 30 साल पुराना टेक्नोलॉजी ला रहे हैं इंडिया में, बट आज की तारीख में अगर देखेंगे हमारा तो कई एडवांस कंट्रीज से भी पहले हम यहाँ पे लाते हैं। तो वो कॉन्फिडेंस बढ़ गया है, जो गवर्नमेंट कर रही है तो उसमें थोड़ा सा प्रोत्साहन मिलता है कि हमें भी साइमल्टेनियस टेक्नोलॉजीज लाएँ और नए टेक्नोलॉजीज लाएँ। इट इज़ इन द राइट डायरेक्शन।
सर, जब मोदी सरकार ने 2014 में अपना टेन्योर स्टार्ट किया था तो काफ़ी इंश्योरेंस पर काफ़ी सरकार ने जोर दिया था कि किसानों की फसलें खराब हो जाती थी। लेकिन अब हम देख रहे हैं काफ़ी रिवोल्यूशन आया है, इस तरह की बात होनी बंद हो गई है। क्या केमिकल इंडस्ट्री ने जो सरकार का इंश्योरेंस की तरफ जो ध्यान था उसको कम किया है? अब इंश्योरेंस की जो दिक्कत आती थी वो कम हो गई एनवायरनमेंट को भी लेकर और केमिकल इंडस्ट्रीज के जो इसमें बदलाव आया है उससे।
अगर हम एडवांसमेंट्स की बात कर रहे हैं, नए केमिस्ट्री क्या है, पहले केजीस में इस्तेमाल होता था 1 हेक्टेयर पे केमिकल्स। अभी वो कम घटते अभी कई जगह तो 100 ग्राम से भी कम कई केमिस्ट्री में 4 ग्राम्स तक आ गया है। इसका मतलब है कि हम भी काफ़ी रिसर्च करके नए केमिस्ट्री जो कि एनवायरनमेंट के लिए, वाटर के लिए, पशु पक्षी के लिए, सबके लिए एनवायरनमेंट फ्रेंडली हो, वही हमारा कोशिश रही है। और probably that is also one of the reasons कि, and of course any one scheme, there is no silver bullet, so सबको आगे आना चाहिए और insurance has also played a major role in, but yeah, we have reduced quite a bit, yeah, so risk free किया है, फिर predictable किया है, फिर digitization किया है। so crop doctor करके हमारा अगर सिंजेंटा की बात करें तो वो क्या करता है कि एक ऊबराइजेशन जो बोलते हैं ना, सर्विसेज ऐसे कर दिया हमने। अगर किसानों को अगर कुछ भी चाहिए, वो एडवाइजरी चाहिए तो एडवाइजरी है। अगर कोई कुछ नए कीड़े दिख रहे हैं तो खाली फ़ोटो लेके भेजना है और तुरंत हमारे पास वो पहुंच जाती है और उसका सोल्यूशन समाधान ढूंढ के उसको बोलते हैं। अगर ड्रोन्स चाहिए स्प्रेइंग के लिए, उसी ऐप से आप ड्रोन का भी इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं। तो मतलब इट्स अ composite many different things including digitization and IT, AI, which is driving the whole industry forward.
इन द लास्ट फूड सिक्योरिटी को लेकर मतलब आप लोगों को कैसे आश्वस्त करेंगे कि केमिकल इंडस्ट्री उस तरफ अपना जो है अपना आगे से आगे बढ़कर देश में और सरकार में जनता के लिए जो है वो सहायता कर रहा है, आगे उसको उस प्रॉब्लम्स को क्या आप देश की जनता को किस तरह से मतलब अश्योर करेंगे?
नो, हमारा यही कहना है कि बस एक प्रेडिक्टेबल साइंस बेस्ड रेगुलेटरी एंड पॉलिसी रेजिम हो, तब वी आर कमिंग फॉरवर्ड। वी नो ये आए तो क्या होता है कि कभी कभी एनजीओस के कहने पे या कहे सुने पे सडनली बैन हो जाता है। तो ये बैन हो जाता है तो इतने सारे रिसर्च बेस्ड जैसे लगता है कि हम कहीं वो छोटे से शैक में हाथ से हम मिला रहे हैं केमिकल्स। ये तो नहीं है। मतलब हमारा बजट ऑन R&D ईच ऑफ द कंपनीज कई करोड़ है। तो इसका मतलब है कि आप थोड़ा सा साइंटिफिक बेसिस पे करें, पब्लिक प्राइवेट पार्टनरशिप को बढ़ावा दें, क्योंकि प्राइवेट सेक्टर भी काफ़ी कर रही है। जो भी सरकार करना चाहती है उस डायरेक्शन में प्राइवेट सेक्टर भी काम कर रही है। तो लेट अस ब्रिज दी ट्रस्ट डेफिसिट, बिकम PPP मोड पे अगर हम एक दूसरे से सीखें तो वो बहुत ही बेहतर रहेगी। मतलब और फिर नए पॉलिसीज़ जो आ रहे हैं, तो ये एग्रोकेमिकल वाज आइडेंटिफाइड एज वन ऑफ द चैम्पियन सेक्टर्स। तो कोविड के टाइम पे जब चाइना एंड ऑल ऑफ दैट हैपेंड, तो उन्होंने कहा कि दिस इज़ वन सेक्टर ऑल्सो वेयर इंडिया कैन प्रोग्रेस एंड बिकम अ मेजर मैन्युफैक्चरर। सो वो देख ही रहा है, मतलब वी बिकम द 4th लार्जेस्ट मैन्युफैक्चरर। तो द प्रोडक्शन लिंक्ड इंसेंटिव जो कहते हैं, PLI स्कीम जो बहुत अदर सेक्टर्स में अनाउंस हो रही हैं, तो उसको भी अगर इसमें पूरी तरह मतलब they are introducing it to certain chemicals. So if it is become uniform and if it is a science based regulatory regime, then public private partnership. So ये सारा मिलके, and of course drones and AI and other technologies which is coming in combinedly, if you see, then there is no, we are ready 2047 में जो कह रहे हैं आप, preparedness of India for food security, I think we are there. It is just that we also, our contribution should also be recognized and not viewed differently, saying ki, you know, chemicals are bad, or it's like it's like medicine for the crops. Pharmaceuticals में आप तो पूछते नहीं हो क्योंकि it's saving lives. Here it is saving crops. So हमारे सारे कंपनियां फेसबुक में हैं, इसमें हैं, जो भी तरीके हैं, मतलब टू रीच आउट टू द फार्मिंग कम्युनिटी, वो उसी के तरह, मतलब लैब टू लैंड तो यही हो गया ना। दिस इज व्हाट वी आर टेलिंग, व्हाट वी आर ट्राइंग टू डू थ्रू गेट द टेक्नोलॉजीज इन द हैंड्स ऑफ द फार्मर। Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks.